kind of racism upon which colonial power was based. This is the last bastion, which has now fallen. And also I think it was the most extreme.
Why South Africa turned into what has been called the ultimate racist state, and what caused its downfall.
Life in South Africa was just a, tragedy, risky, dangerous, all the time.
What life was like under apartheid and why it was so dangerous.
In fact, what we've seen is quite extraordinary, is the end of a authoritarian regime without a revolution.
And how beyond South Africa's tortuous transition is a remarkable tale of cooperation and compromise. Hello and welcome to Why. I'm Sonia Ruseler. Join us this half hour as we examine one of the truly remarkable stories of the 20th century, the end of apartheid in South Africa and the beginning of the right for everyone of age, no matter what colour, to vote. That historic first election takes place April 26th to 28th. If you follow the news, you'll be hearing a lot about the who, what, where and when of the South African elections. But here we will try to help explain why this momentous event is taking place and taking place now. For the past 15 years, CNN's Mike Hanna has witnessed and reported South Africa's transition from apartheid to democracy. Recently I spoke to him from Johannesburg and I began by asking him what struck him the most about South Africa's changes.
The overriding impression of what has happened in the past 15 years is the ability of the people within this country to assimilate speedy and fast change. When one thinks of how inflexible this situation was as recently as 5 years ago, there appeared no way out. The only resolution appeared to be one of armed conflict, of ever-intensifying revolution. There appeared to be no way ahead whatsoever. All of a sudden, F.W. de Klerk makes major announcements. He unbans political organizations. He releases Nelson Mandela. A whole new ballgame is underway. And all the time, the people within this country are able to move with the pace of change. Certainly, there has been the most appalling levels of ongoing political violence. Thousands of people have lost their lives. But through it all, there has been this constant movement towards a form of democracy. There's been a constant insistence by the political leaders that they want this democracy, and there's been a constant insistence by people on the ground from most political factions that they want change as well. So this is the overriding factor that I've observed, is the flexibility, the fluidity of South African society as a whole to accept and to ride with the most fundamental political change imaginable.
So would you say, Mike, that the lessons for the rest of the world is in fact one of tolerance?
Well, it's one of tolerance. It's also one of overcoming fixed racial attitudes. When one remembers that this society lived through decades of the most intense racial oppression, institutionalized apartheid, racial segregation written into law, it appeared once again that there was no way to bridge the gap between black and white. What has happened in recent years is that political leaders of different colors have come together, bound by a common nationality rather than race.
Mike, looking ahead, what are the greatest challenges now for the new leaders and indeed for the citizens of the newly democratic South Africa?
Well, the greatest challenges are, first of all, and most immediate, is to curb the level of ongoing political violence. This is not only a violence that exists in the streets of naked, open gunfire, it's also an institutionalized violence that has been built into the society through the decades of oppression. We are looking at the violence of inadequate education, the violence of inadequate health. All of these are major problems that a post-apartheid government is going to have to deal with. They have been left with major crises within this country in, as I said, elements like education, like health. These are things that the next government is going to have to struggle with. But underlying their struggle is the knowledge that they have achieved, albeit how with great difficulty, they have achieved a situation in which a form of political agreement has been reached, in which all the people of this country have come together, have accepted the fact that there will be a majority-rule government here, have accepted the fact that there will be a new constitution protected by a Bill of Rights. All of these are given. This makes the job of the next government so much easier, Sonia.
CNN's Mike Hanna, thank you so much for joining us with your insights from Johannesburg. When we return, how South Africa's troubled history set the stage for apartheid.